our main segment today will be on Jims Mowing, the franchise.
And Cameron and I were like I was very skeptical about this because this is a movie podcast. And then Cameron comes to me one day just going, hey, can we do Jims Mowing? I'm like, you've got the wrong place. But
yeah, so if those people who saw the cover photo on Instagram or whatever and thought, is there a movie on Jims Mowing? There is not.
Jim's movie.
Jims movie. Not yet, at least.
Right.
But facts about his business of 2020.
Yeah.
So 3 years behind. Then I've got some regarding his family life. Then I've got the Wrath of Jim.
The Wrath of Jim.
Then Jim's PhD and his research team.
Jim 2.
Then his Jim's interesting views on the world. And then I've got some fun trivia. You may have seen, it's that bloke with that cool little...
bucket hat?
What was it?
Bucket hat or a fishing hat?
Fishing hat, bucket hat. He's got
Fish
the beard.
hat.
It's Jim's and then something else.
Fish bucket hat.
So usually you would see... Yes, a fish bucket hat, all right? Usually you would see Jims Mowing because that's that is the most well-known, most recognisable and the biggest one of his divisions.
Yeah.
He started that, Jims Mowing, and then became a franchise, and now there are 52 divisions. So what's the first obvious question you'd have about Jim? Is his real name Jim? Is that not your first question every time you see Jims Mowing driving around?
No.
Well, his name isn't actually Jim. Is that not the saddest thing?
Okay, that kind of baffles me.
His name is David Jim Penman. So
his name is Jim.
Not on his driver's license, according to his driver's license.
You have his driver's
according
license.
to state records, it's David. Anyway,
Jeez.
so
we've
he
been doing
his
that
business,
before this as well.
He started his business in 1982 with $24 after he failed to do his PhD.
Oh, is this another... We're working on Apple in a garage and now it's a...
No. So he was trying to do his PhD at the time on history, but he wasn't getting any progress because no one really understood his perspective and his views. And so he was doing some mowing to get money on the side. And then when uni and his PhD fell through altogether, he just stuck with mowing. But now, so starting from 1982 to now, he has 4,000 franchises, 35,000 customers a day. He generates a revenue of $500 million a year.
Really?
He has 52 divisions, and he's in Australia, New Zealand, and UK. This entrepreneur, I'd call him an entrepreneur, has said, although he has great success, which we just looked at, that has that has not balanced so successfully with his family.
Yeah.
He is now on his fourth wife. He has 11 children, and every single one of those children has worked in the company for a time.
Really?
And this is his quote. My current wife I met 18 years ago, and we're still in the honeymoon. She's my best friend, and we adore each other. I don't blame any of my ex-wives, but losing my children was incredibly hard. So he's lost them to like separations.
I thought you meant like there was an accident or something.
I knew I had to clarify that one. But so he has a biography written by him, and guess what it's called?
Jim's biography?
Jim's book. So someone wrote about it, and they're writing, just trying to understand his life.
Yeah.
If he's so successful, what's his life like on the other side? And he says his romantic side, his family side, has lost compared to his success in business. But the book goes on to look at the wrath of Jim. That is his biggest weakness and his biggest strength.
The wrath of Jim.
Yeah. He has been described as having a reputation of someone who loves to fire someone. Like Trump, you know?
Well, he's had 3 divorces, so
his children come through, and other family, and if they don't fit the part or put in effort, they're gone.
But isn't that any type of work, though? Like I've been joking around with Jim, but like that kind of makes sense. If you can't do the job,
but
then...
his family.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is just what people
liberties
describe.
for family.
He fired his sister, to which they have never spoken again since he fired his sister.
Jeez, that's heavy.
But compared to the what people say that he loves firing people, he has people who've worked for him for 5, 10, and 20 years.
Right.
So, you got to toss it up. He also has been described as he changes his mind very often, making decisions very quickly, and then getting very angry and instant if people don't get on board straight away.
I believe that with the 52 different gyms companies going.
But he must move pretty quick.
He does.
Yeah. Like to start your company and then a few years later go, all right, I'm franchising. Let's go, baby. Bring on the dog wash and the landscaping.
He reminds me of you a lot.
Thank you.
Where just one week you'll be like, I'm getting a motorcycle. Or the next week just, I'm going to read about birds.
Well, both are true, and I've stuck into both. Anyway, so you want to get into his PhD? This is where it gets really interesting.
Go.
All right, so
Cameron is tapping his fingers like Mr. Burns right now. I'm very
so this
terrified.
is where I was just reading, and it was kind of normal information.
Yeah.
This is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
So hold on to your hats, everyone. Let me just... So Jim started his PhD.
Your fish buck hats?
Shut up. And it didn't work out because his views were too radical and too far-fetched for people to sponsor him, to support him, for him to finish his research.
Yeah.
But since having his business, he now puts about $1 million every year to a team of scientists in Latrobe, I don't know where that is, to continue his research that got his PhD rejected. And this is his idea. He is concerned with the rise and fall of human civilizations.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
He tries to explain why certain historical events have happened to certain peoples at certain times in certain places. So, here's an example. Jim has a theory that big shifts in society... Let's look at World War One. According to Jim, the Great War was brought by a widespread hormonal change in the Austro-Germanic people of the 1880s, which made them more aggressive and warlike. And that's how he explained how World War One occurred. Because a hormonal change in the genetics at that point, at that place...
Why just Germany?
Because that... I don't know. Austro must be Austria as well. So around that area, Europe type area, in the 1880s, so about 30 years before World War One, hormones started to get more aggressive and more warlike. And so that's why World War One happened. So... He, in this understanding, this is his idea, he could explain why Rome rose and fell so quickly, and then why Stalin was able to stay in power for so long, and why the West ended in a really bad state. That's his examples.
Yeah.
So it's the understanding that changes in the brain and hormonal activity will play out in history.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so everyone going through changes, watch out, you might start a...
But this is his hope is he can predict the future.
Right, through hormones.
Through hormones. And he's spent time...
Do you reckon he's been experimenting with having so many kids?
I don't know.
That's trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And that's why he keeps firing people, trying to tick them off, you know? Seeing if there's a change.
This is a theory.
Wow.
Very interesting. But
the mystery behind Jims. Jims mystery.
Are you a scientist, Riley?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, so am I. But I don't understand. I don't really think this backs up. But then again, we don't have a team of scientists doing research again.
Hey, he's doing research.
Yeah, exactly. See,
he's productive, all right?
Yeah. But this is where his PhD is going, because it didn't work. Now he's trying to look at medication to mediate these hormones, right? So that he can suppress and learn about genetics. He wants to create medication that will change your genetics too.
So is he saying that he could, if he was back at World War One, he could have prevented it through medication?
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. But this goes on because he has this whole book he wrote called The Hungry Ape in 1992. And it's not...
Jim's Ape.
It's like a satire. It's not a real story. So when he says these lines, when he's describing these cultures, it's not really him saying it. But this is an understanding.
Yeah.
So in this book, The Hungry Ape, he's devoted many pages to exploring racial differences. And he draws pretty heavy racial stereotypes, which I'll say. This is my opinion when I was reading through just these quotes. No, I didn't read the whole book.
Yeah.
Black sexual behavior is freer on average that of the whites. His reasoning is because they have lower restraint. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Australian Aboriginals are an even more extreme case. They are unsuited in general to the discipline of academic study and many jobs. It gets a bit worrying.
Jim,
yeah. And then
what are you
for the
doing?
Jewish people,
Oh,
he said
Jim, stop.
they have high restraint, far more inhibited, more driven by anxiety and insecurity.
See, I can get behind the whole hormones caused World War One and having many offspring to test this, but Jim, no.
See, this is why I wanted to make a segment on it. This is fun, interesting, isn't it?
The more we unpack this, the more I'm just concerned about this guy.
As I was messaging you, I was like, boy, I found a gold mine here. Because like, I got a lot of this scientific information came from Vice. All the other resources like Channel 9 News, the Sydney Morning Herald, and the CEO magazine were all about his business. But then Vice looked at that for about a paragraph and went straight into his research. So if you want to read it, I'm going to put the link in the episode description, the Vice one, because it's so interesting. There's so much more we could go into. But his comments about Aboriginal, although it may have been a satire, it's quite racist and I think quite unfair to say that Aboriginal people are not suited for the discipline of academic
100%.
study.
Yeah, that's not right.
Yeah, like their culture was so different to ours just because they didn't suit it straight away.
Yeah. No, I don't think we need to explain why Jim's reasoning's bad. Jim's
and I was a bit
reasoning.
nervous about his Jewish people one have higher restraint. I can't.
When people say stuff like that, it's kind of just like, I feel like they move past, here's a new idea, to let's just bag out different cultures and races.
Yeah, like his idea saying they're far more driven by anxiety and insecurity. This is where his PhD is looking at, understanding the mind. And I don't know, but let me go to...
It makes sense why he went into Jims Mowing. Let's just say that.
Do you see why his PhD was not so successful?
This guy has had 4 wives, 11 kids. He has said super outdated things about all classes and races and all that stuff.
Quite a journey, wasn't it? An emotional journey. I watched wow, inspirational. Ooh, I'm worried.
I really started liking Jim, and then there was just a rapid decline. But then kind of brought me back a bit with all of his obscure things. Surely he didn't come up with all the divisions, though.
I don't know. He's got a massive team. He nearly got kicked off the board in 2010.
Really?
Yeah,
why would he do?
Being Jim, I guess. I don't know.
Jim being Jim.
They never got kicked off the board, but he stayed on.
Jim's antics.
Oh, Jim.
Jimmy
anyway,
Jim.
So
Jim.
there's a bit of history, a bit of information. So every time you see the Jims Mowing bloke,
now you know.
You know who he is.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode.
Yeah, thank you.
Don't give Jim any hate. Don't send him hate letters.
But
I hope you enjoyed it. If you want more of these to look at some really obscure things, hit us up.